Hello, everybody. You are once again welcome to yet another very scintillating episode of a sit down with. Today we would be talking with a giant of Africa. I call him the baobab of Africa. He is a very usual face on our screens. He is an academic par excellence. He doubles as a lot of things, and I would be reading his bio subsequently. Now you know how we do it on here. Please share this video, pump hearts, share to groups, tag your friends, tag Cameroonians, tag Delicious to come join and sit and listen to somebody spew wisdom. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining, like I said, this is a sit down with, an exclusive sit down with an African giant. Now, you already seen his picture on the screen, and if you don't know who he is, guess what? In just about some minutes, you will be having him grace our screens. But before that, please share this video, pump hearts, and tell somebody to tell somebody that, hey, Dr. Ambe Valentine is on Delhi TV. While I get him on screen, let me see those of you who have just joined. We have Choco Abyss. Um, Choco Abyss is saying, on fait comment pour être comme toi. Hey, Choco Abyss, can you share this video? I need to see your comments so that I can project them on the screen, okay? Yes, please let me see your comments. Let me have them so that I can project them on the screen. Share the video, pump hearts, tag your friends, tag everybody taggable, because we are about to have a tsunami today. Emma Sidonie, I see you. Godimba, I see you. Bonjour. I think I'm going to speak in French today. My French is Frenching. So yeah, let me see. Keep the comments coming, guys. I see 37 people watching. The number is not very good enough. Come on. This is Apostle Ambe we're talking about. He's a doctor, he's an apostle, he's a president in the making, he is a consultant, he is all of that and more. I need to see you engaging. Sivet Zem Yvette, I see you. Angwa, I see you. Abong, Winnet, I see you. There's Lovelyn Akiambo. There's Kings Ambe. Yeah, there's Mimi Gist Official. I hope I didn't miss out on a name. There's Tingel Ernestine. And there's Mercy Kema. Yes, my French is Frenchified. That's Godimba. So guys, again, share this video, pump hearts. We're just about time for us to get his bio. And before I do that, I'll project his image on screen just so you see. And of course, we can cut to the chase. Now that's him. So bear with me. Apostle Ambe Valentine. He attended secondary school at GHS Bojongo and high school at PCHS Mancon. He obtained his first degree in public administration at the Kaduna Polytechnic, Nigeria, and did master's and PhD in political science at the Christian University College in Liberia. Apostle Dr. Ambe is equally an entrepreneur. He is the CEO of Elgibor International Business Ventures. He's the proprietor of Arise and Shine Pepper and Plantain Plantation, and also the proprietor of Kingdom Pattern Bilingual Nursery and Primary School. He is the general overseer of the Living Word Prophecy Tabernacle. He is the director of arbitration and complaints at the Kwame Nkrumah Ideological Institute in Ghana. He is the African ambassador of the Global African Leadership Chapter, United States of America. He is married, he is a father of four and more. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, join me, make welcome on our screens the one and only Baobab, Dr. Apostle, President, Consultant, the Baobab of Africa, guys. Come on, make some noise for him from heart. Welcome, Praisey, I'll call you.
Thank you, Delhi. A wonderful privilege to be here in the UK with you. And I'm so glad to be part of the Delhi show today. It's a very humble privilege and an honor equally to be here to address people across the globe. Delhi, as fondly called by many, is a woman full of potential. It's a woman full of dignity. It's a pride of Africans and also a pride of Cameroonians. She is our own. We call her our own because she is one of the most popular influencers we have in the nation Cameroon, an ambassador of the ICT University that has given that school a name, that university a name across the globe. Please, I really appreciate what you are doing for our youths across the continent Africa and the globe at large. We celebrate you and we appreciate you. And to all those who are fixed across the screen, across the globe, we appreciate you for being part of today's show. And I'm so honored to be here in the UK, London, to, present this show to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so. I mean, are you now the one presenting? At some point, I felt like I'm now the guest and you're the presenter. My goodness, I'm honored, to say the least. I'm honored. Thank you so much, guys. You see, the show is already showing. So you want to come along with your questions, okay? I mean, questions from every angle. Now I know that we're supposed to zoom in on all the hats that he wears. Now he has a lot of hats, so these questions should be coming from every angle. However, I would love for us to touch on his visit to the United Kingdom. He's presently in the United Kingdom. I would love for us to touch on the Anglophone crisis because, of course, you see from his bio, he is a um, um, is it well, he has not a degree. Let me get political science. He has a master in political science, just so you know. So he has a wealth of knowledge when it comes to politics in the entire world and especially Africa. And talk about Cameroon. And he doubles, of course, as a minister of the word of God. So we'll be talking about politics, we'll be talking about religion, we'll be talking about his coming to the UK, we will be talking about the Anglophone crisis, and of course, what we have had in the wake of yesterday. And a lot more that would, of course, come from the comment section. So you don't want to miss an inch, an ounce of this very jam-packed live show. Once again, Dr. Ambe, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Delhi. I'm honored to be here.
Right. Let me take some questions. No, let me take some comments before we go. We have Nimke. Nimke is there. We have Kaimbi. Um, he saying I used to enjoy him a lot. I mean, you're gonna enjoy him even more today. And there's you again. We have Chebi Selim. We have Yvette Musa. Hi, Yvette Musa. We see you. Please share this video as you join. Okay. And all of you, if I don't see your name, please just bear with me, okay? Let us cut to the chase and talk about what we're here to talk about. Now, you have been invited to the United Kingdom by the Parliamentary Security Intelligence Forum. Am I correct?
Very correct.
Okay. And if you're here in the capacity as a political consultant, however, you're here to talk about the role China and Russia have in Africa. Can you shed more light on that? And besides, we would be playing an excerpt of your talk in Parliament. However, we would love to hear from you what your coming to the UK is all about, and of course, a lot more.
Thank you Del, for this privilege to address this very sensitive topic. My coming to the UK is a divine connection, I will put it. I'm a consultant to the presidential aspirant in South Sudan come 2024 presidential elections. I've been working with him for some time now. So when this forum came up, there was a slot on the African perspective. Understanding my role as a Pan-Africanist, he quickly connected me to the Congress in the US, who later on organized a program in Britain with the help of the British Parliament. So I was invited to come here to speak from the African perspective. So two of us, we had parliamentarians from Ethiopia, Malawi, Kenya, Uganda, but just two of us were privileged to address issues concerning Africa. And my topic was to address the recent role of China and Russia in Africa. And I had to present the topic exactly as it was given to me. Because we have a shallow mentality of China's role and Russia's role. We do not understand the in-depth. I said there is a second wave of scrambling in Africa. And the first scramble was in 1884. The second scramble is the recent scramble. And this scramble is the East and the West bloc. What do I mean East? Russia, adding to China, is against the West, US, France, Britain, name them. This recent battle over Africa is an opportunity for Africans to rise up and make the right choice. And if we have to make the right choice, we have to understand how these two blocks operate. The first block came as colonizers. The second block is coming as a buyer. And I gave comparative analysis on these two blocks because you will never see the French, the British, the Americans own properties in Africa. But you will see the Chinese buying lands, owning properties. There is a difference between colonization and buying over. Our continent is for sale. It is better you are colonized than that you are bought. Every ordinary African will look at these two recent people coming to Africa as a blessing. But we have done serious analysis, and we can tell you the West is not the best, but they are even better. This East that we are seeing as if they are the best, they are the worst. This is because if you want to analyze their activities, you'll be able to understand that as bad as the West is, we can deal with the devil we know than the angel we do not know. First and foremost, every society that does not respect human rights is not a good society to trade with. At least there's human right in the West, but in the East, there's no human right. The idea of democracy introduced to Africa is not bad, but democracy should be defined in context. They call contextual democracy. For instance, in Britain, we have a parliamentary democracy. The king rules. Prime minister is elected members of parliament and is answerable to the parliament. In America, it is not parliamentary democracy, but it works within that context. In Canada, we have semi-federalism, where two Quebec has a special status. It's almost treated as a country. That's the democracy that works within that context. Coming back to Africa, you cannot lay your hands of the democracy in Africa. It's a mixture of democracy, a touch of communism, a portion of monarchy, and a mix up of socialism. You can't actually lay your hands on the democratic principles in Africa. So that's why we say, let us define democracy. Are we having kings with a parliament headed with a prime minister that works well in Britain, than convincing us that we have presidents that can be removed out of power, yet they are playing the role of kings? Kings hand over kingship to their children. Presidents give way for others to take over. But in Africa, but in Africa, presidents are handing the throne to their children. Is that democracy or monarchy? Why sell us democracy and practice monarchy? This is the reason why most persons are dying. Properties are destroyed. So I call upon the international community to take away the false democracy they give to us and allow us to contextualize the democracy within our setting. And that is the reason why I said the introduction of Russia empowering strong men to seize power through coup d'etats is not a way out of our crisis. Many Africans did not understand my speech. I didn't support the West, but I cannot embrace Russia's approach. Because if you come to Europe, America, they've lived for long in serenity, in peace. They have a system of democracy that has kept them for this long. But if you come to Africa, you don't have names of strong institutions. When you hear in England House of Commons, you hear House of Lords. The Prime Minister is summoned to the House of Commons. The President in America is summoned before the Congress. But in Africa, we don't have names of great institutions. We have names of great men. Idi Amin Dada, Muammar Gaddafi, Robert Mugabe. You keep hearing the names of great people. Societies last when they have great institutions, not when they have great men. So we want to take back great institutions to Africa. That's why we are asking for a contextualized democracy. China equally has coming through diplomatic debt traps. The ordinary man that looks at China sees him as that angel that has come to rescue us. No country from the east or west is coming to rescue us. It's not possible. They are coming for their interest. And one thing we must understand is this: we must have an independent mind. No country is independent. Every country is interdependent. Interdependent. We have something to offer. They have something to offer. This is not a time to go after the loans. But if you want to talk about the loans, Chinese loans have low interest rate. IMF loan has more interest rates. The interest rate of IMF over Nigeria in 1993 was 24%. Why Chinese loans rate at 7 to 10%. Now the issue is this: China does not forgive when you owe them loans. The IMF can concert among themselves and cancel loans. Are we depending on loans? No, we don't count on loans. But the truth is, no country can live without loans. The IMF was formed in 1944 by 44 different nations. It will shock that the very first country to receive a loan from IMF was France. France is a first world and is indebted. The highest debtor to China is America, not Cameroon. So we cannot roll out the fact of debt. But let us look at where we are able to take the loans. Take the loans where you need, you can survive tomorrow. We have never heard of IMF seizing properties in Africa in the past. But we have seen China seizing properties in Africa because of debt. That tells you volumes. In the energy sector, China is buying lands in Africa, but you will never see Europeans buying lands in Africa. England doesn't have land in Africa. France does not have land in Africa. Even the French industries in Cameroon have the temporary structures because they don't have a settlement mentality. China has a population of 1.4 billion people, and the population is overgrowing the surface area. Africa has arable land for agriculture, and Africa has sufficient space. So China envisages Africa as a settlement ground in the next 50 years. China also wants to dominate the world through energy. When they buy those lands, it will help them to plant their solar panels. And they may give free energy for 5 years in most African countries. And when they give you for 5 years, once you enjoy it for free, the 6th year they may start asking for payment. Then you will start giving your minerals. It is a gift, publicly looking at it. But behind is a trap. People who have not studied will just be excited by what is happening. Like recently, we were told China canceled a loan of 3.4 billion in African countries. Then let me tell our viewers, hear this very well. It was non-interest loans that were cancelled. The loans that have interest are generating income more than the one that was cancelled. So people who do not have comparative analysis on this, they will insult you. That, oh, China has come to rescue us. Russia has come to rescue us. But I put it straight before Africans. Until we get up from sleep and get out of this shock, use our brain rather than our emotions, Africa will keep marking time on the same spot. This is the message I was trying to pass across. Because I was not given sufficient time, I was not able to go past it effectively. So neither the West nor the East will help us. Thank you.
Wow. I think I'm literally lost for words, Dr. Ambe. Now I get a clearer picture of what your outing was all about.
Yes.
And I hope the listeners as well. Guys, please share this video from hearts, tag your friends, share to groups so that we can engage many more persons. Can you hear me?
Of course.
So I was saying that I think I was muted there. So what I was saying is I was literally lost for words. While you were speaking, I had a clearer understanding of what your outing at the parliament was all about. Now, I understand where the backlash was coming from because a lot of people were of the opinion that you were rather, trying as much as possible to bash the same people who are trying to help us out because that's the narrative that is told in the media. And of course, it's been pushed like that. And when I listen to you, I hear the Limumba sort of, the Pan-Africanist vibe, that Limumba vibe in you. And I'm so happy that you have finally had the audience that is much needed for you to pass on this wealth of wisdom, like I said, that you spew on a regular. And I think, like I said, it's a new dawn for not just for you, for the entire Cameroon. But again, I want to ask, how did your coming? First of all, is it an official coming? Did you come to the UK as in an official capacity? And also, how does your coming to the UK directly benefit Cameroon, given you had the platform that you had?
Yeah, so Delhi, as I earlier mentioned, I came here through a friend because of my consultant job with him as an aspirant of the presidential school in South Sudan. So I did not come here officially. I wasn't sent by the government. I was invited as a consultant, and I came in that capacity. But as a Cameroonian and a patriot who loves his nation, I can never come here without speaking on the interests of my country. I started discussing practically in the first place in the domain of business, how they can come invest in Cameroon, how they can come create jobs for Cameroonians, how they can come see a lot of investment opportunities in our country. I started discussing with a few individuals because it was a highly diplomatic meeting. We had business gurus, we had top-notch statesmen in the US, top-notch statesmen in Britain. We had parliamentarians from 16 nations of the world, 290 delegates. So I met the business people. I even spoke with the Qatari ambassador to the UK. We had a time together. And the next day, out of the 290 delegates, 14 of us were selected to have an assessment of the entire program. So on that platform, I was still able again to share the opportunity that they could come invest in education, they can invest in health, they can invest in agriculture. Then they asked me about the situation of security in the country, which is a fundamental requirement for investment. I told them that the security situation is good, but it's not at its best, considering the situation our nation is going through right now. And he said, with talks and prayers and concessions, we are trying to see how we can bring the nation to a place of complete peace and serenity. So that is how I was able to sell the green, red, yellow flag to the audience here in the UK and the dignitaries that came from different nations. That's it.
Thank you so much for putting us out there. Again, playing the devil's advocate and listening to what you have said. One can be of the opinion that we Africans cry a lot, like we cry like babies. Oh, the West is doing this. China is coming to your rescue because you went to them to ask for these loans, which they gave you on a platter. Of course, you and I understand what that is. However, like I said, playing the devil's advocate, they were there to help. And we keep complaining. Are we ready to take responsibility? Or before that, whose responsibility is it to fix these issues? And are we as Africans, Cameroonians in particular, ready to have this dialogue and actually face it squarely?
Okay, Delhi, I will mention a quote by John Maxwell, the leadership guru across the globe, that says everything rises and falls on leadership. And leadership is not a man. Leadership is a collective responsibility of every single individual. A nation suffers when it has citizens and not patriots. We should be able to stand up and say
I think we've lost Apostle Ambe there. Let's see if he gets back on screen. I'm not sure. I think his internet has messed up. But hey, he's going to be there in just about a minute. Okay, so do not fret. Please share this video. It's a lot he will be talking about. Share this video, pump hearts, while I see if I can get him back on screen. Share the video. Have you shared? And let's see if there are many more comments coming through. Share the video, please, pump hearts. Share to groups, tag your friends, and let's get more people engaging. Apostle Ambe, if you can hear me, can you get off the studio and you get back through the link again and see if I can put you on screen, please, because you are not there. While I try to get him back on stage, please and please, can you just let's just have an excerpt of his conversation at the British Parliament. For those of you who did not have the opportunity of watching it, here is an opportunity for you to feed your eyes. Ladies and gentlemen, please watch.
Good morning to everybody. It's a privilege to be here. I'm Dr. Ambe Valentine from Cameroon, a political and economic consultant, and I'm glad to be here today. Thank you, Congressman, for this opportunity to present our perspective as Africans. We are from Africa, and we love Africa. And we've come to present our worries as Africans to this very exalted forum. For quite some time, we've observed a lot of things happen in our continent, and we are worried. That's the reason why we make moves from one nation to another to make sure we share our worries so that everybody in the international community will understand our plight and be able to share with our worries. Today, I want to present on the recent role of Russia and China in the continent Africa. I call it the second wave of the scramble of Africa. We had this scramble in 1884, so many years ago, and this time around, there's a second scramble. The scramble this time around is a scramble between the East and the West Bloc over the continent Africa. And for those of us who have done a comparative analysis on what happened and what is about to happen, we've come to the conclusion that Africans have to rise up and stand to defend their interests. Let me start by saying that modern-day Pan-Africanism is not hatred, bitterness, malice, or anger for other races. It is working alongside with other races, yet defending the interests of Africa. And we are here not to fight, we are here to defend Africa's interests and to present our worries so that everyone can work alongside with us. Russia's recent invasion of Africa is causing a lot of stir in the west of Africa. We have had series of coups d'etats in this part of the continent, which we think it is not a blessing. A few persons may think something good is about to happen because people seize power through military coups d'etats, but we've come to realize that it is not the best way out. Democracy, we know, is the government for the people, by the people, and of the people. And that is the system of government we've been grown to know. Something else is invading our continent. And we are up facing the enemy in the face to make sure that we put an end to this rubbish. Russia's invasion of Africa recently is trying to undermine the tendencies of democracy in Africa. And we are standing up today to say we believe in democracy, we trust democracy, but we just want democracy to be upgraded according to the African context. Because I think democracy fits every society based on the ideology of the people. What we have in Great Britain is parliamentary democracy. And what we have in US is not the same. So I think we should confine democracy to the context of the African continent so that we can be able to live in peace. The democracy that we've had for so many years now has had and brought us so many challenges, problems, death, destruction. And this is the reason why we as Africans, we are coming to say we want to put an end to the influence of Russia in the African continent. The first thing that Russia is doing is that Russia is raising strong men, not strong institutions. The danger of raising a strong man is that when he dies, everything dies. In Europe, we have House of Commons, we have House of Lords, we have European Parliament. In Africa, we have Idi Amin Dada. In Africa, we have Muammar Gaddafi. In Africa, we have
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I can see a lot of people have engaged again because, of course, it was getting more and more interesting. But of course, that's an excerpt from his speech or his talk at the Parliament, the British Parliament, which was phenomenal. Matter of fact, it's gone viral. And we're privileged and honored to be having him share a stage with us and hear directly from him. How about that? So, you want to share this video from heart because it's still a lot of things we have to talk about. Now, before the glitch we had, we were talking about whose responsibility it is for to fix whatever problematic you have raised, which of course it makes sense. All of what you said, it makes sense. And are we as Africans, Cameroonians in particular, willing to take up the battle act, stand up and say, you know what, we can do it? And how feasible is it, Doctor, to say Africans can do it on their own without always having to rely on the West for their own kind of solution?
yes, absolutely possible. As a matter of fact, statistics have shown that Africans have the best brains in the world. Go to universities across the globe, from USA to Britain to other parts of the world, the best students are Africans. Go to all industries in the West, the best engineers are Africans. The best doctors are Africans. The best lawyers are Africans. That tells you there is a capital flight in terms of intellectual know-how. Capital flight is when income is leaving a country to another country. This time around is intellectual flight. That tells you that we have all the brains to make things happen. But the truth is, a car, as good as it is, and with all the parts, cannot define its destination until there is someone on the steering driving it towards that direction. It falls back in the place of leadership. What is leadership? Is the capacity to translate vision into reality. I repeat, leadership is the capacity to translate vision into reality. Africa does not have human capacity problem. Africa does not have mineral problem. Africa does not have intellectual problem. Africa has leadership problem. And until this particular cankerworm is treated within the cycle of the African society, there is no guarantee for Africa tomorrow. This is the reason why I can tell you, as intelligent as you are, Delhi, it takes a leader to find your worth. As brilliant as I am, Delhi, it will take a leader to also define my worth. But you see, what has eaten the African society is politics that empowers individuals more than even businessmen. I quote Peter Obi of Nigeria. He said, any society where politicians are richer than businessmen is a dead society. And if you go to the African society, it's an epitome of that statement. And this is the more reason why you may feel like nothing is around Africa. Everything is there, but nobody is there to discover these treasures and make proper use of them. One of the capacity of a leader is the capacity to have a foresight over the capacities and potentials of his subordinates, so that he fits the right person in the right place. What is killing Africa is that we have square pegs in round holes and round pegs in square holes. So it does not fit. And this is the reason why you may feel like nothing is around. until somebody else who knows the value of those things comes to the place of leadership and then picks these people and begin to use them. A few countries in Africa begin to pick the lead. For instance, Botswana, Mauritius. These are countries that are beginning to understand the place of leadership. And even if we cry, no amount of natural resources can add value to a society. No, it is humans that give value to natural resources. So you may want to say, Africa has so much natural resources. How come they are not growing? Natural resources by themselves have no value until human resource adds value to natural resources. So the essence of any society is the human resource, not natural resource. The opposite, there are countries in Europe like Croatia, Uzbekistan. They have no natural resources, but their human resources able to create water out of the rock. So if there is a degrading or a degenerating aspect in the African economy, it is not human, it's financial resource or material resource, it is human resource. There are countries in Europe like France. What can France actually boast of in terms of natural resources? But the human resource in France is so strong that you cannot even take note if they don't have natural resources. So we keep singing Africa's natural resources, and that is the more reason why we are insulted, because we have the natural resources and we are not making impact. So we need to get back to that place to understand that there are people in the continent Africa who can make things happen. They are not given the opportunity. Unfortunately, those who have the ideas, they don't have power. And those who have power have no ideas.
Mm. Like, I think we can literally go on all day listening to you. I'm sorry, I had to unmute myself there. I think we can literally go on all day listening to you, because the things you say really, really are it's suiting to the spirit. And I think each and everyone listening to you, Doctor, we can attest that it's about that time for these things you're saying to begin to, you know, pick space and materialize, like come to fruition like that. And we keep talking. You talked about the leadership. It's a lot I want to talk about on there. But there was something you mentioned about spatial status of some other countries, which of course leads us to into the wake of the Anglophone crisis. I mean the drama. I'm trying to, for lack of a better word, that happened yesterday. And then it's sad to say the least that we've gotten to the level where these blood spilling and all whatnot is we've gotten to that level where we're no longer bothered, quote unquote. We are tired. What is happening to the Anglophone crisis that was meant to bring a solution to the problem Anglophones were facing? What would you say is happening, and how beneficial has this crisis been to especially the Anglophones? Before you answer that, the special status that came up. So I was talking about special status. You talked about special status of other countries. Didn't we of recent weren't we of recent handed a special status? And how beneficial has that been to Anglophones? And of course, these crises in general been to especially the Anglophones.
Yeah, I think I should define a disparity between the Anglophone problem and the Anglophone crisis. There is an Anglophone problem. Anglophones feel marginalized in Cameroon. Anglophone crisis is not Anglophone problem. Every Anglophone will attest to the fact that there is some level of discrimination at the level of governance and the sharing of the national cake. But the crisis that erupted out of the problem were a group of few persons that hijacked the problem and turned it into a crisis. The truth is, when a society does not develop people economically, war is bound or war is inevitable. I said to some top government officials some years ago that we should stop organizing peace conferences and start organizing entrepreneurship conferences. Go to the Northwest. Anybody who had an investment there was against the crisis. It's people who had nothing to lose. Only those who have nothing to lose will definitely pick guns to fight. Anybody who has something to lose will never pick gun to fight. We may live in this UK for the next 50 years and you won't see any gun because everybody has something to lose. When people are empowered economically, war is not a subject. And that's the more reason why you see this thing escalated from a problem to crisis. Number two, communication. People are operating with wrong information. A lot of persons were giving wrong information that stirred up their anger. And so by so doing, they began reacting based on what they heard. I have spoken to state officials in the country that they should not minimize the place of communication because every crisis rises and falls on communication. We have examples of the case of the Hutus and the Tutsis in Rwanda. This was a product of communication. You had the case of Hitler in those days, communication. So we should invest more in communication because many people have decided to change their mind after hearing the right thing. You don't edit out wrong information with the barrel of a gun. You edit out wrong information with the right information. Bullets don't shoot out knowledge. It takes right knowledge to dissolve wrong knowledge. And this is the area I think our state officials have to work intensively on. Coming to how beneficial the crisis has been to us as Anglophones, there is something we call in business ROI, return on investment. When you invest into anything, there is analysis and statistics to be taken for whatever you have invested so far. Let us consider the Anglophone crisis as an investment. For the past 6 to 7 years, what benefits have we gotten from it economically, politically, socially, psychologically, educationally? That's a whole book. If I put on ground today, it will take us years to finish reading it. Economically speaking, Northwest and Southwest were the hub of education in Cameroon. All top government officials sent their children in our prestigious schools like St. Joseph's College, Our Lady of Lords, Sacred Heart, name them. But this time around, for insecurity reasons, schools in the northern have moved over to Yaoundé and to Douala. You realize that the Anglo-Saxon culture, the prestigious Anglo-Saxon education we had, is gradually fizzling away. This is because our children speak more of French now than even the English. My first daughter is writing the A levels, trained and born from an Anglophone family. But she greets me in the morning, bonjour. And before I struggle to correct her, she has spoken 2, 3 words in French. So we have francophonized our children more than anglophonizing them, if I'm permitted to use that grammar. Coming back to the effect on our children psychologically, our children are suffering because the crisis has affected those who are from poor homes. The rich man who lives in the English-speaking region has sent the child either to the French region, to some African country, or out of the country. The poor mama there in Furawa, the poor mama there in Jinikijim, the poor woman in Fundong, the poor woman in Guzang, who does not have transport to send the child to either the littoral region or out of the country, the child has lost education. We owe the children, we deny them from going to school. We owe them an apology in the future. Those are the consequences. Those are the casualties which if I continue to name. Number two, at the end of the day, nobody wins this war because no amount of victory can replace the lives of people who have died. If they declare tomorrow that government won, government did not win because the casualties are untold. If they say Amber won, Amber did not win because no amount of victory can restore the soul of a single person that died. I have read wars in other countries. The Tamil Tigers in Sri Lanka fought from 1983 to 2009. That's 26 years of war. They finally surrendered. One danger with war is not who is winning at the moment, is who has the capacity to sustain the war for a long time. It is called the Scotch egg policy. They dry up all your resources at a level you can no longer fight. So it is not actually who is fighting and who is winning. We can't mention the number of displaced persons and refugees in other countries. Where is that sweet home we used to have? The nostalgia of going back home is not there. Our brothers and sisters in the diaspora who engage into this can't find their way back to their native land. No matter how much money you make out of the country, there is that feeling from where your umbilical cord was planted. That feeling of nostalgia will eat you very deep into your bone like cancer. We are talking about return on investment. What have we harvested so far for what we invested? Infrastructural developments, roads became shadows, structures destroyed, institutions frustrated, financial GCAM, which is a body of business in Cameroon, said that they have lost at least 800 million flow of income from the north and the southwest because of the crisis. That was a report of 2018. What about now? Who has benefited? There is nothing to reap out of war, and nobody ends up winning in any war. Yeah, thank you.
Um, I'm sorry about that, guys. I know you lost me there for a bit. I'm actually working behind the scenes as well, being the technical guy and, of course, the main face here. So I'm sorry about that, but I'm glad that we're back. And yeah, let's keep at it. I did not miss out on any of the things you said, and I hope the audience as well. Guys, I think you need to start sending in your questions because, of course, we are just about the last phase of the interview. And of course, I know we can sit here and talk about these things all day. Now, Doctor, you did mention about the government putting in place one or two things to salvage the situation. One of which, of course, the special status, which I mentioned. I'd love for you to touch on that special status. But before we get to the special status, I'm really concerned, and especially on the part of the government, that we have just started school. Like it has been barely 2, 3 days of school resumption.
Mhm.
And we're having this attack in the heart of a town which is supposedly or which is supposed to be guarded or invaded or crowded or jam packed by military forces given the times we are in. I mean, how do you explain the fact that barely 2 days to school resumption, Ambats would freely navigate the streets of Boya and cause the atrocity they've caused, and the security, and then we claim that the government of Cameroon is actually working to salvage the situation and all of that. I am, I think I've gone past that level of believing that there's people really want to solve this crisis. And I beg your pardon, because you see the pain in my heart as a mother, as a citizen of Cameroon. I don't understand, because at the end of the day, we insist that children should go to school. We're put in a position where we don't even know what to do. We're having pressure from the Amber side, we're having it from the government. Now, when the government gives us their word that send your children to school, and we wake up and the next minute these children are faced with all of what they're faced, how do you begin to say that the government has actually put, like, isn't the security of Cameroon, I beg your pardon, just let me give this very unprofessional question that I'm giving. Isn't the security of Cameroon supposed to be so tight, especially at the beginning? I mean, we've not even gone halfway. School, midterm, it's not even midterm. That you would say, okay, the situation, the military were, they were a bit lax, which of course that should not even happen. But of course, you think about it. What is the hope for us? As mothers sending children to school, as citizens of the country, as people living, what, I need you to articulate that for us, or you to tell us what exactly the government is doing in terms of this security, because it is clear something is wrong somewhere.
Yes,
Ah,
security is not something we are insecurity. I beg your pardon. It's not something we are facing today. Before I left Cameroon for the UK, I think the Minister of Defense had a meeting, a security meeting, with respect to school resumption. Schools were about to resume, and there was a security meeting to technically plan and prepare how they can secure the environment for a successful school resumption. When I saw those images of people were killed around Munya because schools resumed, and the 16-year-old girl who is an eye was caught by a stray bullet during a crossfire between the military and the Amber. I got so worried because I am sure this meeting that was held for school resumption had a plan carved out to protect the children going to school. But to my greatest dismay, I saw this very, very, very embarrassing. On the other hand, you see, I want to say that the government probably protects strategic positions, maybe because the manpower needed to cover every space as the military forces is not sufficient. That's one thing I want to believe, because I don't believe we have uh, security in almost every area. Maybe they are protecting the strategic positions in each city or in each region, because that stretch, Munya Ekona stretch to Muyoka to Kumba, is a red zone. And I think that environment was supposed to be an environment that they would have mounted so much security. But rather, security is mounted but in the center town of Boya, while these outskirts like Munya, they are left. And most of the shootouts take place but in these outskirts. So I don't know the technical intelligence. The security intelligence was mounted around the Boya subdivision that Munya was left loose, because that was where, and that has been where most of the shootouts take place as far as the Boya municipality is concerned. So I saw those images and I was so confused that with all the security meeting held before school resumption, what is the government trying to communicate to us? We heard recently that the Dio of Kumba was attacked and he was rescued by the bees. Are they trying to give us the impression that they are protecting people but not the masses? Are they protecting some strategic individuals and not the masses? Because I think the value of a Dio is the same value of a child. The value of a governor is the same value of a little child that is going to a school. Because that governor today was a child yesterday. The Dio today was a child yesterday. So if we are giving attention to those who are already made, what about those we are still making? So that area of security is something that is baffling, because there was a meeting held to solve the security crisis as far as school resumption was concerned. But to my greatest dismay, we saw what we saw. So I think the Cameroon government has better to explain to our people. Coming back to the issue of the special status. Well, to have a shallow mentality in special status. I have said in Cameroon, and I'm still saying it here. Our special status does not reflect the rest of the special status I've studied across the globe. There are 50 nations on earth with special status, from Africa to Asia to Europe. Right in UK where I am, Northern Ireland has a special status. You go to Somalia, Puntland has a special status. You go to Tanzania, Zanzibar has a special status. You go to China, Mongolia, and Hong Kong, they have special status. Go to Canada, Quebec has a special status. But if you take your time and study the protocols guiding the special status in all these respective countries in the world, there is no trace or reflection of what holds in Cameroon. As a matter of fact, we have given it the name special status, but it's not special status. It is just a name, because you cannot say somebody is the regional president or president of the regional assembly who is a chief executive officer of the region. Then you put an administrative head that controls that individual. Then you go back now, you are leaving delegates of education, and you still have commissioner for education. You have delegate of health, you have commissioner for health. Those are the things that caused Ayijo to close down the federal system, because he felt like there was much expenditure on the both sides of the government. So he closed them. Instead of having a minister in West Cameroon of education and a minister of education in East Cameroon, he closed down those two and brought under one minister of national education to reduce cost and expenditure. Now you have given us special status. Here you are putting a delegate for health and a commissioner for health. Two persons running the same office with different staffs. That's making the thing too heavy for the government to carry, where there is no money even to feed the common man. So the special status in our context has a serious problem, and it has to be revisited and looked upon. If at all it has to serve its purpose and give the people of former West Cameroon the opportunity to enjoy the rights of special status. Because some special status countries, they have their own football team, they have their own football team, they have their own police, they have their own flag, but they are under the same government that runs activities. So I think the special status is not a bad idea, but it should be revisited, it should be revamped, and it should be structured in a way that can give the people of former West Cameroon the opportunity to feel honored and respected in their own country.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ambe. I really got emotional there, because who wouldn't, given everything that is happening? We were having hopes already that, this thing was coming to an end, at least that the government was putting in place measures for tight security, and especially rentrée scolaire. And then this happened. You can only imagine the fright that this has placed in the heart of the common man, especially, who doesn't even know if tomorrow is guaranteed.
Yeah.
I'm just Delhi, and I'm a nobody as far as this is concerned. So there's hardly anything I would say that would matter. But let's talk about you, somebody like you who is elderly enough for some people to listen to, is intelligent and knowledgeable and schooled enough to speak regarding this crisis. What would you say, especially to the separatists, their leaders? Because when we talk about the separatists, most of them are not hearing what they're saying. The leaders are. What would you, as an elite of the Anglophones, say to especially these quote unquote leaders of this crisis?
Really, a cord can only be tensioned when both ends are held tightly. If you relax the both ends of a cord, it will relax.
Just before you go on, please, I just want to appeal to each and every one of us. It's what he's about to say, of course, is as important as the word. Please share this video from heart. It's a 111 persons watching. I can see from my dashboard. Can you just pump hearts? Give it a thumbs up on this video. If you've shared it, please share. There's no limit to the number of times you can share this video. Just share again. I need the hearts. Okay, share, pump heart, and share this video and pay attention to what doctor is about to say. Yes, doc. Sorry about that.
Yes, like I said, a cord can only be tensioned if the both ends are held tightly. Sometimes you don't win by actually winning, you win by surrendering. Bob Marley said, "He who fights and run away will live to fight again another day." Let me begin by saying that we have had crises in all parts of the world. The only thing that has brought end to such crises is when both parties compromise. You cannot hold tight the end of a cord and expect tension to be reduced. We have seen for years now that as the war continues, we keep facing serious casualties. We keep facing damages. We keep facing frustrations. Why don't we calculate the loss we have had so far, looking at the living conditions of our people, and be able to compromise to come to a place where we can be able to work in alliance as a team so that we can come to a compromise to help the common man. Because in a crisis like this, sometimes leaders are not touched. Sometimes it's a common man. The problem we have in Cameroon is a common man. The pains we are having is a common man. The cry we have is a common man. Let us put our interests aside and be able to look at the issue of the common man. The common man is the IDP. The common man is the refugee. The common man is the one that has not gone to school. The common man is the one that cannot feed himself. The common man is the one that is caught by the stray bullet. The common man is the one that has fallen sick and cannot be taken to the hospital because all the roads and the streets are blocked. And I can tell you, this common man has a greater percentage than every other person in the crisis. The leaders could be 10%. Those who support the leaders could be 10%. The common man is 80%. Will the interests of a common man not prevail over a few personalities who have decided to hold on to a particular philosophy, even when everyone is dying? Are we going to lead ourselves tomorrow with graveyards everywhere, no structures, or we really intend to have people live? That should be a matter of the conscience. I think there is a level where sometimes you leave your philosophy, you leave your ideology, you leave your education, you search in your conscience, because conscience is the greatest judge of humans. Let us go back to our consciences and ask ourselves some sincere questions. You studied Marxism, you studied democracy, you studied socialism, you studied and studied. Can that education be greater than your conscience? I think if we drop these educational philosophies we have acquired from left, right, center, the doctorate degrees we have obtained in all areas, put those doctorate degrees on ground, because ideologies are influencing you that your conscience is crying for help. Let us drop our philosophies and go back to our conscience. Is your conscience comfortable to see your brothers and sisters in the streets of Ikom, Ogoja in Nigeria begging for bread? Is your conscience at peace when your brothers and sisters sleep in the streets of Douala and Yaoundé and sometimes are even insulted by people of that land? Is your conscience at peace when you see people litter the streets dead? Is your conscience there when all the roads and structures are rotting, going down? What is your conscience telling you? We all hold convictions. We all hold philosophies. We all hold ideologies. There is a time that you have to go back and check your conscience. This is where we have arrived at right now, the place of conscience. If conscience is not dealt with at this level, we will keep on fighting. One other danger is this: a war is not won by who is fighting. A war is won by who that can sustain. And looking at the structure of the Anglophones and the structure of the government in place, I don't see how the Anglophones can sustain this war this long. I don't see how they have the resources, financial, material, and all resources to resist and hold on to this war till they see a change in their lives. Please, we are begging. The Englishman says a stitch in time saves nine. I think it's time for us to hold this stitch so that other stitches do not get torn off. Please, conscience. We owe our conscience. We owe our conscience. We need to get back to our conscience and ask our conscience sincere result. If at all you have humanity in you, if at all you have passion in you, if at all you have value for human life, I think what you hold as a philosophy should not be stronger than your conscience. This is my word to the leaders. I got back to our fathers in 1953 during the Eastern Regional Crisis in Enugu. Those people had different political philosophies, yet they were defending one particular interest. Immediately, Estimuna, who was a loan minister by then, was sacked. Indeli gave orders that everybody should walk out of the Eastern Regional House. They all walked out, not because they had the same political philosophy, but because they were defending the same interest. If your interest is truly Cameroon, your philosophy will be different. By the end, drop your philosophy and be able to go for your interest. This is a big problem we have right now. Those fathers walked out to make you understand that they did not have the same philosophy, even though they had the same interest. When they walked out on behalf of Esteban and came back, you realize that the Endele formed the CPNC. You hear that Foncha had KNDP. You had that Mbile had their own party. That is to let you understand that for them creating different political parties, they did not walk out of the Eastern Regional House as a result of the fact that they were united. No, they were defending an interest. If you Anglophone leaders are defending a common interest, I think you should break out of these little splinter groups, come under a particular community for the interest of the people, not your personal philosophy. It is this divergence in philosophy, divergence in our approach, and discrepancy amongst us and division that is causing the common man to suffer the most. The Eastern Regional House in Nigeria, the fathers did not have the same biblical and political philosophy, yet they had the same interest. The interest was to defend every Southern Cameroonian. So immediately they were walking out of the Eastern Regional House in Enugu. They walked out on behalf of Southern Cameroonians. They didn't walk out on behalf of a political party. But what we have right now is that people are defending parties and groups rather than the interest of the general Anglophones. If you are for the interest of general Anglophone, you are going to compromise your philosophy and come to a place where the benefit of a common Anglophone can be considered. So I think this is very, very important for us, because if we have not had talk as Anglophones, we should not go and talk anywhere. I was asked to send a message at the Pan-African Parliament in Africa. I said to them, they should never attend any world meeting as Botswana, Cameroon, Nigeria, Germany, Nigeria, Uganda, Kenya. They should attend conferences out of the country as Africa. That is to say, they should have an African summit before going for Afro-Russia summit. African summit before going for Paris African summit. Africans before go for US African summit. They are leaving Africa with a common philosophy. But when they go there, they are divergent. When they are speaking A, John is speaking B, the Europeans take advantage of who is very, very, they put in French, moyen cher. They go after you and then they hit your head. I think if Anglophones come first, they have to talk to themselves. All these dialogue they are talking about, dialogue should start with Anglophones themselves. Where if they cannot talk among themselves, you forget about talking about any other person. So the problem now is, one, they should search their consciences and be able to drop down their philosophies, their convictions, and their ideologies, because their conscience is stronger than their philosophy. Their conscience is stronger than their ideology, and their conscience is stronger than their convictions. I think conscience now should be able to judge us. That are we comfortable to see the children littered in the streets dead? Are we conscious of the fact you don't have a common philosophy? Are we conscious of the fact that we are allowing our brothers and sisters to rot in Nigeria, in Ikom, in Ogoja? Some are begging, they say are prostituting. Are we comfortable that our children have become more francophonized than anglophonized? These are the things we have to ask ourselves. If we don't ask ourselves these questions, we should stop beating around the bush. People will keep dying, properties destroyed, days are going by, and nothing is going to be achieved.
Wow, that was quite loud, Doctor. Thank you so much. I unfortunately I mute my mic just so that it doesn't echo while you're speaking. And I hope that every other person listening to you made sense out of what you've said. I hope and pray that the leaders have listened. Of course, I know they would listen to you because you are a voice. And I believe that this is a season for you. And it's about time, not just those of us listening, not just those leaders. I mean, the entire government of Cameroon gets to see that we leverage on these lights that is shining on Dr. Ambe right now. I'm looking forward to a lot. I'm excited about what you have in store for us Cameroonians. I am, and Africans at large. I am excited because what you spew out, what you're giving out. I believe it's about that time. I think enough has been said already regarding the crisis, and we'll leave it at that. Let's talk some other interesting thing. Like I said at the beginning, you wear a lot of hats, and so we're going to have this conversation jam packed with, touching on everything you represent. I mean, attempting to talk about it because we obviously cannot. Let's talk about fatherhood in Christendom in Cameroon. Um, I'm not even sure how to put this, but is there fatherhood, authentic fatherhood in Christendom in Cameroon? And I know you're laughing already, and you know where I'm going to with this question. What is happening to the children? What is happening to mentorship? What is happening to fatherhood? We see a lot of influx. And Opancho is talking about, of course, you must have listened to Opancho. He talks about 80-20, valorizing our own, and all whatnot. Now, this is not just limited to the entertainment industry. It cuts across every one of these sectors in Cameroon. And unfortunately, it's crept into the church and it's even worse. And the other time I heard him saying that actually that was the gateway to the diluting of our content in Cameroon, the church. Now, we've zoomed on that and I'm asking again, I'm insisting. What is happening to the Church of Cameroon? What is happening to fatherhood? Why is there no unity? We listened to Apostle Suleiman, recent visit in Cameroon, and he was clear about the Church of Cameroon not being together and people not wanting to submit to authority and leadership. And the trend of changing leadership and mentorship at will and not wanting to succumb to discipline is very rampant. Now, this is a visitor, quote unquote, to the nation, and he gives out that as a prophetic word to the entire nation. What is happening, Doctor? No, you wear the hat of an apostle now. What is happening? What would you say accounts for this, and what is the way forward for the church in Cameroon?
Yeah, now I'm as a president of Cameroon Pentecostal movement. I'm talking as the president of Cameroon Pentecostal movement, and I'm sure my Secretary General Apostle Alfred Singer is watching, and a host of other ministers in our nation, Cameroon. Then let me begin by saying that I think we have a misplacement of priorities, and secondly, immaturity. The revival that break out in America, from Azusa Street revival to other parts of the America, moved to Nigeria because Nigerian fathers constantly visited America to see people like Ora Roberts, T.L. Osborne, Kenneth Hagin. They caught the fire from America and brought it to Nigeria. A person like Bishop Oyedepo sings it often that he contacted the mantle of faith from a man called Kenneth Hagin, was an American preacher. That fire left America and came to Nigeria. The truth is, they went after the spirit of revival. They did not go after the culture of the Americans. The problem we have in Cameroon is that we have not gone after the spirit of revival to copy from Nigeria. We have gone to collect the culture from Nigeria. There is a difference between contacting the fire of revival and transferring the culture of a people. Nigerians caught revival from America. You don't hear them talk with American accent on their pulpit. No. You don't see Nigerians play American music. No. You don't see Nigerian pastors dressed like American pastors. No. You don't see them decorate their churches like Americans decorate their churches. No. You don't see them teach what Americans teach. No. You don't see them pray like Americans pray. No. Now, Nigeria has become the hub of revival in the world, and every nation is trooping to revival. My problem with my Cameroonian brothers is that they have not gone to Nigeria. All of us, we have not gone to Nigeria to go and contact the spirit of revival there. We have gone to transport the culture. And this is the reason why it is difficult for us to recognize fathers at home, because a culture of a people, first of all, submits you to their authority. That is the reason why if you have 200 Cameroonian pastors, at least 150 are submitting to Nigeria, because we went there to borrow a culture, not to catch the spirit of revival. How do I know we borrowed the culture? Number one, Cameroonian pastors dress like Nigerian pastors. There are some pastors who do not have a ministry. They just duplicate everything they see from one of God in Nigeria in the name of submission. Submission is not stupidity. If they don't find any uniqueness in your ministry, you are not called. Submitting under Bishop Oyedepo should not make you talk like him, dress like him, sing praise like him, act like him. You were born an original. You cannot die a photocopy. You come to Cameroon, people will submit to Apostle Johnson Suleiman. They want to jump like Suleiman. They want to shout like Suleiman. They want to preach like Suleiman. They want to sing like. That's why you see most of our churches have Nigerian songs than Cameroonian songs. We dress like Nigerians, but that is not the protocol. What we need is to contact. So by virtue of that transfer of culture, it is easier for us to find fathers in Nigeria. It is easier to also go and submit to Nigerian fathers and Cameroonian fathers. Number two, people follow influence and affluence. If you are submitting to a man based on his influence and affluence, you have a sponsor, not a mentor. Most young people today are looking for sponsors and not mentors. The men that led you to Christ, the men that groom you in Christ, the men that built that thing in you in Christ had the mantle you needed. But unfortunately, we are rushing to where the person is on television. He has a private jet where he can give us money to support our ministry. Listen to me. When God calls a man, he equips the man. When God calls a man, he empowers the man. The reason why the Cameroonian revival is affected or adulterated is because the culture of another community, not the spirit of revival, has been transferred. You go to some churches on Sunday who are submitting, for example, like under Polinenche. You will hear them there. All they sing is what is sung in Nigeria. The choir dresses like their choir. The man of God talks like their man of God. My friend, we already have Polinenche. We don't need another Polinenche in Cameroon. We already have Suleiman. We don't want another Suleiman in Cameroon. We already have Bishop Oyedepo. We don't want another Bishop Oyedepo in Cameroon. You must be unique. It is that uniqueness that creates you, your niche upon the earth to excel and to allow God run with you. So the problem with the father with the Nigeria in Cameroon is that most people in Cameroon do not have the visibility, the popularity, the influence that other Nigerian televangelists have. So we don't see them at the level of fathers. Since most young men that do ministry are desperate young men who do not have food for themselves, they easily look for men who will give them what to eat, not who will impart them. So please, it is important for us to understand that fatherhood is something that is very, very important, because Cameroon has its uniqueness when it comes to God's agenda as far as the gospel is concerned. I was here with a dear brother, Reverend Song Yusimbom, a very great man of God I met here in the UK. That's a man that has left impact in the nation Cameroon, affected. I mean, there are generations of young men that he raised in the past who cannot even identify with him today as a father. But it's a father who cannot change. So we have a challenge because everybody is following what is on air. How many Cameroonian preachers can you boast who are on higher satellites, who drive big cars, who have sumptuous church buildings? Because we don't have that, so we are not qualified to be fathers. But with the Cameroon Pentecostal Association, we are identifying fathers in our nation, Cameroon, and we are giving their place. We are recognizing people like Bishop Tembi Alfred, Pa Padingwa Mesia, Apostle Professor Julius Esunge, name them, Bishop Chris Raymond. Those are fathers in the land. We must recognize them. Those are our own names we are going to project across the globe. My primary objective of being raised to this rank, first and foremost, is to project the image of Jesus Christ. Apart from every diplomatic responsibility, my focus is to see how we can be able to restructure the Cameroonian church and give it a place in the center stage of world diplomacy, because the church has a very important role to play as far as diplomacy is concerned. So I think more education is needed in the Cameroonian church to make them understand that transferring a culture is different from transferring the spirit of revival. Bishop Oyedepo studied church growth under David Yongichu, but he does not talk like Yongichu. Most of the Nigerians don't submit outside. The prominent names in Nigeria, Paulinenche's father is Bishop David Oyedepo. David Ebiome's father is Bishop David Oyedepo. David Oyedepo's father is Papa Adeboye. You see, it goes round amongst them. Why did the young men from Nigeria not run to go and submit to the fathers that their fathers visited in America? Is because the people contacted the fire of revival, yet brought a unique. When you start doing what somebody else is doing bigger than you, they will follow. So if a pastor is trying to act like Poenenche and has a son, they say, what am I doing here? My father is submitting to the person who has the origin of this thing, and then he's doing the same thing. What am I doing? What am I doing here? Children will only learn to submit to something that is unique and has what is taking them where they are going. So I think we have to start coordinating also ourselves as fathers in order not to make the younger generation start looking outside. That is the problem. So we have a problem with the spirit of revival and the culture, and we equally have the model of the fathers in Cameroon behind their children. Children will easily copy what you are doing, and if they find somebody doing that thing you are strong doing a bigger way, they will say, what am I doing here? They will look for somebody else who has the original. So that uniqueness of Cameroonian ministers should be there. And then I think the society of Cameroon must be properly educated to understand the value of fatherhood is not based on material acquisition. It is based on spiritual potency. Spiritual potency. So material acquisition is not a sign and a path to fatherhood. Children will run towards a man that can give them 10,000. Some man can give them 50,000. Not under a man that they can carry the grace to live in holiness and purity. So those are the kind of challenges we have. Thank you.
I'm back. Yeah, I told you I'm with the background listening, and I want you to have the center stage just so that your voice can echo louder. Thank you so much. I mean, that was a hard knock on the head, and I hope that the men of God listening, they would listen to this. I mean, I hope that this voice, this wind of change that is blowing, I mean, it's felt in every these nooks and crannies in Cameroon, because it's becoming a joke. I mean, when I look at what is happening, I just cringe at my corner, and I'd be like, who a delegate again? Who are you to speak on such issues? Like we're coming from you and from, like I said, I mean, you're not just an apostle, you're president. You said you're president of um the Pentecostal movement in Cameroon. I mean, that's a position which is highly respected, and I hope that they get to, because the mess is the joke. The joke is on the church. The joke is on us. I mean, it's gotten out of hand. Seriously, it has. Like, we're gone are the days when we used to sit and crave for the word of God, the undiluted word of God. I think having this conversation earlier on, we're talking about, oh, the gospel. I'm like, are you calling that gospel? Like, we have to redefine gospel in this dispensation. What we call the gospel, I think it has to be redefined. But anyways, like I said, I'm nobody to talk about that anyways, but voices like yours, which are echoing, and we can only help to echo those voices louder. And I'm trusting that, it gets to the appropriate quarters. Now let's talk about your UK tour. Let's come back to it. You've been here, and I'm honored and privileged to be hosting you. I'm gonna add it to my CV. It's gonna go down in history that I hosted the formidable Dr. Ambe. And yeah, it's such an honor for me. Like I said, I count myself privileged to be sharing a stage with you. But it doesn't just end here. You are traveling. You have a world tour, I would say, because you're leaving the UK and you're traveling to the US. Tell us about it and what it's all about. Are you going to just be talking about Russia and China? Are we going to be hearing more of those people? Tell us what your tour is all about, so we can look forward to it.
Yes, Delhi, I think I'm trying to reshape the pattern of the gospel when it comes to the kingdom of God. God says, go into all the world. That world is not earth. The world is the Greek word cosmos, Kosmos. It means a governing influence. And then the word earth is the Hebrew word tierra, which means a physical planet. So sending us to the world is not sending us to the four walls of the building. Like we gather every Sunday, sing praise and worship, dance, give offering and tithes, then go back home. That's not the church. That's a training unit of the church. What we do every Sunday, every Tuesdays, every Friday is where we train militants for the kingdom. So the church is a global entity. That's why we call it the Catholic Church, not the Roman Catholic. Catholic means the universal church. So when God calls you, you must be able to understand your sphere of influence. I have a mandate to turn existing men and women to start living every sphere of life. That's my mandate. Quote from Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 19. God says, I set before you this day life and death. He was not talking to those who were in a coffin. He was talking to those who were existing, but they were not living. And I cannot sit in the forward of a church building and be able to fulfill this mandate. It is absolutely impossible. There is a political world, there's a media world, there's the economic world, there is the agricultural world. So if the gospel must penetrate in all these places, we must be able to raise militants from the kingdom. We send them as missionaries or envoys with the gospel to this particular area. That's why if you heard my speech at the British Parliament, I said, in quotes, Proverbs 22 verse 7 says, the rich rule over the poor. A borrower is a slave to the lender. That's a biblical concept, which means modern day slavery is not transporting people from Africa to Europe or America to work in the plantations. No, permanently keep them indebted. They remain slaves forever. So slavery has been digitized in the modern era. And so as a missionary, when I find myself anywhere, my primary objective is to present the Lord Jesus. I have moves around the world. I work with organizations. And every time I go there, at the end of my communication, I sell Jesus. I've gone beyond pastoring within the four walls of a church. I'm looking at the world as my parish. That's why everywhere I go, I look for opportunity to sell the image of Jesus. As much as I have come to understand that we cannot actually excel in the gospel if we do not play a vital role as kings and priests, because the New Testament Christian is a king and a priest. That's why I say you are a royal priesthood. Royalty has to do with kingship. Priesthood has to do with consecration. What is the role of a priest? A priest is a teacher of the word. A priest is an intercessor. A priest is somebody that consecrates others to work in the ministry. What's the role of a king? A king is an administrator. A king is a ruler. A king is somebody that sets up structures. But you see, our present day church has limited themselves only at the level of priesthood, and they have forgotten their kingship. So that kingship is what is bringing me now to the British Parliament. The ability to navigate, structure, and drive diplomatic principles that can help establish the role of the church in modern day diplomacy, in administration, as well as legislative quarters across the globe. So a true day apostle is a multi-dimensional talented individual that can be able to represent God at any structure on the surface of the earth. And that's the reason why my moves from here, I'm going to the US. From the US, we go to Taiwan. I mean, we have a host of countries to visit. And for now, I'm now in the UK. I had a very nice time. I met people like Beautiful Delhi. I met Reverend Song Yusimbom. I met other friends who have made UK very enjoyable, attractive, interesting. I mean, it will only take the grace of God for me to live here because the kind of, Delhi, the kind of care that I'm receiving from UK, God will have to help me to leave this place.
You better start going back. Oh, Cameroon needs you. Oh my God. I mean, I'm so elated. I mean, it's been an honor to have you. And like I keep insisting, this is your season. It's not just a season for you, it's just a season for Cameroon. Okay. I've wished, I've hoped that this day would come when you would have a global stage to articulate the plight of Cameroonians, Africans at large to the world. And here's that time, so we want to start celebrating you. I am excited. You have no idea how excited I am. I mean, the honor of you coming to the UK and sending me a text like, Delhi, I'm in the UK. I was like, this is everything, just having you go out there to talk about us. There's this what you this sigh of relief you have when you know that the person articulating your problem actually feels it firsthand, and then has the right words and the right stage to pass it out. That's what's happening. I mean, like, you have literally everything. And hey, government of Cameroon, I mean, we're watching, eyes on the ground. We're watching, like, before I get into our fire tribute questions, which are questions I'll be asking you, straightforward questions, you don't have time to think, you just have to answer. Let me give a not very conventional question. It's a lot of opinions and people, and I think I speak the mind of those listening, those who have followed you for a while, who would, of the opinion that you are the president of Cameroon that has never been. Should we look forward to this? I mean, I know it's a tricky question, but hey, we want to, because man, we're tired of being ruled or led by people who are clearly not going anywhere or don't know what they're doing. But when we hear you speak and we know people of reputation, caliber and timber talking, we want people who know what they're doing to represent us. And come on, I speak again the minds of a lot of people when I say you tick all of those boxes. Can we look forward to that, or you start telling our story of the broken calabash very soon?
As much as God these leaders, I have never yearned to be a president of any country because I've not been involved in partisan politics. But I believe that it's God who raises leaders. As of now, I don't have any intentions for that. I know many people have been clamoring for almost about 2 to 3 years ago. I don't have any intentions for that. I don't even dream of doing it. But I think I can serve Cameroon better, but not as president. I can serve Cameroon better, not as president. I can be an advisor to the president, the presidency. I don't want to be at the. Sometimes, Delhi, for those of you who watch movies, the guys who are on the screen are made by the guys who are directing the film. The real owners of the film are not the ones who are on screen. The actors are very insignificant when they come to the movie. It is the director and the cameraman who stay at the background. The people you don't see are the ones who make the film. So I like being that director or a cameraman at the background while somebody is on the screen manifesting. So I would prefer to work in Cameroon as a director and a cameraman at the background while somebody is at the forefront.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm getting you 5 on 5.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Can
I'm
you hear
getting you.
me? Right. Right. So yeah. Yes, I understand. Yeah, I knew you were going to turn us down. I was certain that you were going to say no to this. However, just know that just know that we're rooting for you. I mean, we love you. We're rooting for you. We encourage you. We're saying speak up. We're saying we depend on you for a lot. We're looking up to you for a lot. And this voice should not be dimmed. It should echo louder, just so you know that, oh, you're not alone. Just so you don't get discouraged, in this journey. You talked about being an advisor. Speaking of which, you are currently an advisor, not advisor. What's the word? Um, a consultant to a would be president, soon to be president, because I know you cannot consult. You cannot consult, and the person doesn't win. So we already know that this person is going to be. Now think about it. I mean, this is literally the brain drain we always talk about. Now we don't value ours. I remember there was a time I was on, I think, on my media prime, and I was saying that I live in this part of the world, and brains like yours would be super rich. Why? Because they value these talents, these gifts. I know how much a consultant is paid per second. You know how footballers are paid,
Of
you
course.
know how it is. Then I'm looking at you, and those consultants are more of the name than even what they're putting in. And I'm listening to you. You sit here and you say things that the government can leverage on and turn the country around. Now, that's a brain that we don't want to drain. But guess what? We're rather having people from other countries sit and get just an excerpt of your video, and they call you, and then you have to grace stages internationally. This should send a lot of signal to the nation entirely that we have these people who can do this job. Talking about communication, there was a point you underscored, which I said, oh my God, I never saw it like this. And you talked about one of the things that we've missed out, and I think this goes to the government, that we've so missed out. Guess what? Is that a level of communication? I need you to touch on that before I get into the fire trivial questions. What is the essence of communication, and how much of it is needed at this stage in time? And what would you say would be, I mean, we stand to benefit putting the right communication panels and persons in place?
Thank you for this question, Del. It has been one of the things eating it very deep in my heart. I have sounded this repeatedly. You see, the challenge we have in Cameroon is that the war break out as a result of what people heard. Gun is a byproduct of information. Violence is a byproduct of information. Don't go after the byproduct. Go after the main cause. Shooting out information from people can never stop them. You don't wipe out wrong information with the barrel of a gun. You wipe it with right information. I think we are using gun more than using our mouths the more. Most of the wars upon the earth were conquered through communication. What brought Hitler in those days was that Winston Churchill was constantly in the radio, and he had to use the radio to talk down the existence of Hitler. Franklin D. Roosevelt used communication as a crippled president on seat during the days of America. The crisis in Rwanda, the Hutu and the Tutsi, break out as a result of an information that came out of the radio. Most of the young men fighting this battle are less informed. As a matter of fact, they are informed with the wrong thing. I used to say, and I repeat, I said, wrong information is worse than ignorance. People are not suffering from what they don't know. They are suffering from what they know. You are not suffering from what you don't know. You are suffering from what you know. Wrong information is worse than ignorance. So what has expanded this war in Cameroon is a result of wrong information. I met a guy who was once a fighter, and I asked him, why were you fighting? He said, they told us that they have taken our nation. I said, from where to where? So you realize that he is operating based on what he has heard. And I met a top government official working with the Commission of Bilingualism and Multiculturalism. I shared him my view. I said, Cameroon does not have electricity in all communities. So they should not think that what goes out of CRTV reaches everyone. Not everyone has data on their telephone to think that what goes out on Facebook reaches everyone. We don't have internet everywhere. We don't have lights everywhere. So that people are totally blind of information. And most of those who are fighting are in those remote areas who don't have network, neither do they have television stations. So what do? Raise a team that can go to communities with megaphones. If somebody is coming from Ngi, let us send young men who can speak the lingua franca of Ngi. Go down to Ngi with megaphones and t-shirts secured by the military. Let them use the dialect to communicate to the people the right information. Go to acquire, do same. It will cost so much money. It will cost investment. But give yourself 1 year investing in communication and information. You will be amazed at the impact that information will do that bullets cannot do. You don't fight wrong information with the barrel of the gun. You fight wrong information with the right information. And I think it's high time, if the government will place value on what I'm submitting right now, if I come back to Cameroon, they should get me to give a plan of action on how to carry out this. Because I think we are minimizing the place of information. I can tell you a lot of people are living with lies. People know what the government has not done. People do not know what the government has done so far. So if at all people are being engineered by what they have heard, they can only change by what they hear. So the place of information should not be minimized. I told somebody, two forces control the entire globe now: Google and Apple. It's not America. It's not China. It's not Japan. That's why if you go to China, there's no Google. There's no Facebook. There's no Twitter. And the TikTok created by China is not used by China. The TikTok that is used in China is to educate children. The one given to us is for our children to dance naked and show their buttocks and their boobs. That is why the Apple central unit in China is determined by the Chinese government. So the Apple you are using that comes from America is not the Apple that China is using. Why are they so protective? Go to Kim Jong-un in the north of Korea. No information filters in, no information goes out. So they cannot be able to trace how they operate. This is exactly, they know that the war of information is stronger than the war of grenades, missiles, bombs, and bullets. I was supposed to write a project and take it to the Commission of Bilingualism and Multiculturalism, but I have other commitments and I did not have time. So please, it is important for us to understand that it is time to get to private media houses, social media platforms, get men and women on the ground who can communicate in the local dialect, dress them with uniforms, give them megaphones to go and preach peace in communities. This area of information is undermined and it is causing, is ravaging the society in a terrible way. That is a pinch of what I know as a plan of action when it comes to the communication unit in our nation, Cameroon. So because of time, we might not have time to expatiate deeply on this. Yeah.
Wow, 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 wow. Woo. Wow, 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 and wow. Wow. See, I'm going to take up this interview on here. I'm jealous because people are going to share this information. I need to be the one to be distributing it out there because, yeah, I mean, we made it happen. Um, Doctor, I salute your intelligence. I salute your big brains. I salute your desire and passion for Africa. I salute all of what you represent. And like I said, this is your season. It is indeed. I mean, I can imagine people screaming at the background because I'm just holding myself from from shouting. When I see you, I always want to sit and listen. You know, I'm a talker. I talk for a living. But when I see you, I want to sit and listen. And so you can only imagine how much of an honor this is to me. So just about time for us to round up. We have barely 5 more minutes to go because normally this is meant to be for an hour 30 minutes, but I had to extend it to 2 hours. Yeah, because you can't grant an interview 1 hour 30 minutes. It's a lot you want to talk about. So yeah, just about time for our fire trivia questions. Are you ready?
Oh yeah.
So these are questions, random questions that you would just answer. So you have two options and you would choose one without thinking. So it's as straightforward. You don't have time to think. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Achu or Aero?
Achu.
Wine or juice?
Juice.
Makosa or Afrobeat?
Afro
Federation or Unity State?
Federation.
CPDM or SDF?
None.
You have to choose one.
My opinion doesn't count.
It does.
That's none.
Agriculture or entertainment?
Agriculture.
Delhi TV or CRTV?
Delhi TV.
Say it out loud.
Delhi TV.
Yes! If you did not choose Delhi TV, I will delete the interview. Now, so don't delete it. I don't want this playing anywhere. Go to CRTV TV. Oh my God. I mean, it's been an awesome time. All is well, they say that ends well. And I think we've literally come to the end of this talk. I was hoping we could talk more, but of course, you've got other people to attend to, not just Delhi and the people watching. So, yeah, your final word to them, and yeah, we can call it a day.
Yeah, I think it's one of the most honorable things I've done in the UK since I came. There are a few places I've gone to Downing Street, I've gone to the Great London Bridge, I've gone to Buckingham Palace, I've gone to the House of Commons, House of Lords, and this is one of the most exciting moments of my life in the UK because I've been able to pass across information that has helped Africans as well as my people. And I met this delicious, 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 beautiful, sparkling, attractive, mesmerizing, astonishing, startling. Wow, beauty of a woman. And no, I say I'm very, very grateful and I really appreciate this opportunity to address Africa from Delhi TV. Please don't touch the dial. Keep watching Delhi TV. It's a place to be.
Keep watching Delhi TV. Did you hear that? Did you hear that? Keep watching Delhi TV. Somebody's asking if you're coming back to Cameroon or if you're
Of
okay.
course.
Oh my God. So thank you guys so much. It's been an awesome time. This interview is going to be on my page. And also, it's simultaneously being streamed on Delhi TV on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel, just so you know. So, yes, you can get on there and watch. And I know that some persons are watching on there as well. Okay. So, without further ado, I think this is where we come to the end of our session. God bless you all. We love you. And it's bye from Delhi TV team. Team UK. At least he's in the UK now. Team UK. We say bye, 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 you all. Bye, bye. We love you. Bye, dog. Bye.